November 2006, the devil tried to kill you. In fact, he succeeded.
Yeah.
Bruce died. What happened to you briefly?
Particular day, I was working underneath a large Peterbilt logging truck, as big as any semi-truck you've ever find. The other mechanic I was working with, who worked for this logging company, had removed one of the front wheels, and he had jacked it up, but unfortunately not used any safety equipment, no jack stands or blocking. I knew it, and that was my own fault. I still went underneath anyway. I was underneath the truck. I was laying underneath the front axle. That's the lowest part of the truck on these big trucks. 10 to 12,000 pounds of weight just on that front axle. In that jack that's over here as I'm laying underneath it, I said to him, go get inside the truck and shut the engine off. When he did, the truck shifted just enough. The jack slips out, and that axle, this 10 to 12,000 pounds of weight, came down like a blunt guillotine and crushed my body in half. On impact, blood came out as it fell through me. And I just called out and said, Lord Jesus, help me. I remember saying it twice in case he didn't hear me the first time. And I looked down, and there was about 1 inch of space between the bottom of the axle and the cement. So I knew my body was 1 inch thick here, and there was about 2 inches of space between the bottom.
1 inch?
Yeah. In fact, I was thinner than my spine.
What happened to your organs?
Spleen, pancreas, intestines, all crushed. Thinner than my spine because L4, L5 vertebrae were broken. 5 places, major arteries were severed. I had a flat spot. I looked like something out of a cartoon. In fact, when I looked at myself, that's what I thought, something out of a cartoon. I'm flat, and as I'm bleeding out and feeling, going into shock, obviously feeling weak, I'm begging him to get me out in front of the truck. He ended up, the guy I was working with ended up jacking the truck up off me. And when he jacked the truck up off me, it was at that point that I actually bled out because the truck was holding everything together. It's a volunteer fire department area, so when he dialed 911, guys' pagers are going off, and the first guy gets there and the second guy gets there, and they were asking me questions and talking just a little bit. I was mumbling, and it was at that point my heart stopped. Now I remember, literally, I heard my heart stop, and it was because I bled out. When it happened, when my heart quit beating, my spirit left my body. I went up to the roof of the garage, and then I watched from above the whole entire thing playing out. And let me say this, when I was in the roof, I felt amazing. There was absolutely no fear, no pain. I felt the most incredible peace I've ever experienced in my entire life. I just watched from above, and on each side of my body were 2 humongous angels about 8 feet tall. I gauged them off of the guy I was working with, who was about 6 feet tall. Their head stuck up a couple feet taller than his head. Big, broad shoulders, white shining robes like the Bible talks about, emanating light, and they had their hands in the middle where I was crushed flat. They were just ministering to my body. I'm just watching them from above. One of the last 2 people that came to the scene of the accident was a 2-month-old baby Christian named Shannon. She came in between the angels. She's feeling for a pulse. She asks, I'm watching it all from above. She says, what's his name? They say Bruce Vanetta.
By the way, the 2 month means she'd been a believer for 2 months. She wasn't 2 months.
Right, right. So she's feeling, and she said, what is his name? And they said, Bruce Vanetta. She begins to pat me in the face and say, Bruce Vanetta, open your eyes, come on, open your eyes. And she gets louder and louder. I watched as everybody in the place turned and looked at her and gave her the crazy lady look. Like, what are you doing, right? There's no CPR, there's no defibrillator. She just slapped me in the face saying, open your eyes. And as she did, my spirit came back out of the ceiling into my body. And the first thing that happened when I came back in, my heart started, but this incredible pain came. Like I felt like a truck had fallen on me, right? And I'm crushed in half, and I was like, no, I don't want this. As soon as I made that decision, my heart stopped again. My spirit left my body. A tunnel opened up going out of the roof of that garage, up about a 45-degree angle, and I could tell there was a bright light on the end of it. And I just got in the tunnel, and I started going towards the light, and I knew that it was heaven on the end of the tunnel. It felt amazing. As I'm going, I could hear her calling my name, come back, come back. Stopped in the tunnel, got sucked backwards, back to the roof of the garage.
You know, we don't know. This is a few-month-old believer. We don't know the power that God has entrusted to us.
Amen. I go back into my body, and when I went back in again, the pain comes, and I'm feeling all this peace, and now I feel all this pain. But God spoke to me, and He simply said this: if you want to live, you're going to have to fight, and it's going to be a hard fight. And you know what? He didn't sound nervous. He didn't sound scared. He didn't sound upset. Very calmly. It was a choice decision. He gives us free will. And when He gave me the choice, if you want to live, you're going to have to fight. It's going to be a hard fight. The pain was too much. I said no. I left the third and final time. My heart stopped again. Went up to the roof. The tunnel opened up. I got in the tunnel. And as I'm going, I could hear her calling. Now remember, like the zeal of a baby Christian, she keeps praying, and she praised me back to life the third time. When I came back in, I was not happy with this woman at all. When I came back in the third time, she is right here looking at me, and she says, Mister, You're on the verge of life and death. What do you have to fight for? Do you have a wife? Do you have children? Now, I knew instinctively inside of me, God was speaking through her, and he was reminding me about my wife and my four young, small children. And I couldn't fight for myself, but I could fight for them. And so I ended up getting med-flighted. Doctors make the claim.
I'll tell you what, hold that thought. I told you this is one of the most verifiable, creative miracles I have ever investigated.